So tell us why you are signing up to fight an MMA fighter who has a 1-0 record in boxing.
Well, for one, he called me out, and he's coming over to my sport, so why wouldn't I? This is what I love to do. So, I mean, I would be, for me not to take this fight, it would make me a scaredy cat. I don't think I've ever been scared of anybody I've ever stepped in the ring with.
I mean, is he thinking, is Nick Diaz thinking, Jeff, that you just, that you can't take a good punch anymore?
Say again?
Do you think that Nick Diaz is thinking is that you can't take a good punch anymore? Because otherwise, why would he take the fight?
Obviously, he thinks he sees something that everybody else, didn't get a chance to see. So I don't know what he's thinking. You have to ask him what he's thinking. He called me out.
What do you think of these MMA guys? Hey, Jeff, what do you think of MMA guys thinking that they can get in with professional boxers who have, upwards of 30 fights of experience?
It's two different sports. I got into loving the sport of MMA. I love boxing, but it's definitely two different sports. I see it this way. You have a striker. You have a wrestler that's good. That's good at striking, but great at wrestling. That's what I give MMA. But as far as striking, nothing but striking. No, I don't see them getting in the ring with a boxer and taking it and dominating. I don't see that.
Jeff, it's Gareth Davies here. I'm a journalist from out here for the fights. I'm from the Daily Telegraph in London. I was at your Calzaghe fight all those years ago, and when he probably had the best fight of his life that night. Sorry to remind you about it at this moment, but do you have to take this guy seriously still? And how's your ground game if you went into MMA?
Say again?
Do you have to still take this guy very seriously? And how's your ground game if you went into MMA?
Anybody who ducked their head in the ring, you have to take very seriously. I don't care if it's an infant. If he's in there trying to do something that he feels that he knows more than what you know in that ring. So I take everybody that duck their head and present a challenge, I take them very serious.
Do you know much about his style?
I don't know too much about his style, but I know boxing. I know boxing, and I've been in there with a lot of great fighters, and I don't think he's compared to any of the fighters that I would consider great.
Well, he's kind of a pitter-pat guy as a MMA fighter trying boxing. His striking's actually pretty solid because he's a volume puncher. With most of the MMA guys are kind of haymaker type guys, but he's more of an accumulation guy. So I kind of wonder, once he puts on the bigger gloves, if he's going to have the kind of power that can actually hurt you.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see when that bell rings, and that's something that he's hoping that he has. I already know what I have.
He's got a very good chin, though. He does have a very good chin.
He does, and that's with 4-ounce gloves. Jeff Lacey's with
us. I mean, he might have a pretty good chin, but I can hit the chin all day, every day.
Exactly.
All day long. It's how many times you can take it. It's not always the one-punch knockout, and I have that too as well. So it's about me putting my punches together and continuing and being consistent with it. I mean, I also understand that he cuts easy. So, it doesn't take much, what I'm saying, for much volume of punches for something like that to happen when you're dealing with a fighter that's doing something for his sport.
Is it a light heavyweight?
It's going to be, you guys are going to fight at 168, right?
Say again?
You guys are going to fight at 168 pounds? Is that the
consensus? The fight is scheduled, contract at 168.
Okay.
Now, here's the
168 fight.
Here's the other detail to get into, though. We're talking to Jeff Lacey, who signed on for a fight against an MMA champion and Nick Diaz, but this time it's going to be the MMA guy fighting under boxing rules, unlike Couture against James Toney. I was reading today that some of the reports from their camp, basically, they're going to fight you if they don't get their fight in MMA. So how do you feel about that? Do you kind of feel like you're being used as a pawn?
Well, you know what? Everybody has to start somewhere. I mean, it's a challenge. I only see it as a challenge. It's all about how everybody else build it up to be. It's a challenge for me at the end of the day. It's a challenge, and that's what I'm going to take it as, and that's what I'm going to go in there. That's what's fueling me in my training camp. It's a challenge at the end of the day. I don't care how everybody else, butter it up and make it look to where they want to make it look, but it's a challenge to me at the end of the day.
I don't think he'll go beyond 3 rounds with you, I've got to be honest. Someone asked, I've had a lot of tweets asked of me in the last kind of few hours, Jeff, and I can't see him lasting beyond 3 rounds, frankly. You said it earlier, they are totally different sports.
Totally different. It's totally different. And I really don't understand what was going through his mind when I understand he might love a challenge. He loves the challenge. Just like I love the challenge. And I am up more for this than you will ever know, because the thing about it is, like I said, I don't want to down talk MMA. I love the sport, but it's totally when you have people talking about it's taken away from boxing, it's taken away from, no, you have great wrestlers that know how to submission people, and it's a tough man contest when they're striking. That's what the fans love to see. 2 fighters are standing up, going blow for blow. That's not boxing. That you're not gonna get that. Tough boxing is not tough man. This is actually you using skill. You're dancing around and what you see, but you can't hit. That's what it's all about. Tough man, when you standing up, and the excitement is the fact that the fans are sitting there watching, saying, you know what, whoever's the toughest and the hardest puncher is gonna win. That's not boxing.
Jeff Lacey's with us. He signed up for a fight in October, psyched to be determined against Nick Diaz, an MMA fighter. You do realize that all of the pressure is on you in this because you are representing boxing. Tony already went over to MMA and looked like a jackass and didn't take it seriously. And I like James Toney, but he didn't get in shape. He didn't take it seriously. There is the pressure on you, but it doesn't sound like you're too worried, though.
No, how would you figure the pressure's all on me? This is something I've been doing all my life. How is the pressure on me? It's something that I can close my eyes and do. He won't, if the pressure's on him to step over, just like the pressure was on James to step over on something that he's never done before. Yeah. How is the pressure on me when this is something I've been doing all my life? It's just going in there doing it against a novice fighter.
That's a good point. I just wonder if you ever lost the fight, then we'd never hear the end of it from the MMA side. And we like MMA too, but God almighty.
I like MMA too, but you totally looking at that totally wrong. I mean, this is something I love to do, and I dealt with way better, technical fighters than this guy Diaz is gonna present to me. I dealt with that. I had a great amateur career, Olympic Olympic pedigree, and a world champion. I dealt with a lot of different styles, so I don't understand how this would be. He's stepping into my ring, but it's going to be tougher for me.
Hey, Jeff.
I don't think so.
Jeff, does he know your nickname is Left Hook?
That's just a name. That's just a name. I got a right hand, a left hand too.
Yeah, that left hook's pretty good too. I don't think it's going to go well.
Don't be fooled by you thinking that I only have a left hook.
Jeff,
don't be fooled. I mean, ask some of the fighters that's been in the ring with me, and that if my right hand is a hell of it got some Summernex in it.
Jeff, how's your ground game for the return match?
Well, that's when I got to worry. When you say I have to worry, when I'm talking about getting on the ground, hey, that's when I have to worry. I have more to worry. Everything else now is a reaction. It's a great reaction to me with doing this sport that I love. It's a reaction, and I know how to capitalize from that.
Well, what I'd like to see, Jeff, is just to present a little more of a challenge for you. After you beat Diaz, you have to go beat somebody else on the same night, because I don't think Diaz is going to be much of a problem for you.
Why don't they bring Nate Diaz as well?
Bring his brother. He has to beat both of them.
Yeah, just take them both.
Well, I mean, if his brother wants some after I put the beating on Nick, then we can do it again. And seriously, if we can make a trilogy against the both of them, I wouldn't mind stepping into MMA and seeing, I'm open for all options.
Hey, Jeff, we appreciate a couple minutes. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you.
Cheers, bye.
Jeff Lacey, former super middleweight champ, 168-pound champ, the 170-pound champ from Strikeforce, who, frankly, is in the running for a fight with George St. Pierre, but has fallen in love with this option of going to boxing. I'm glad Gareth is on board with this. I think it's potentially disastrous because Nick could go in there and get slaughtered. And you know what? I'll tell you from the UFC standpoint, because I think they're going to try to talk him out of it. If they want to be stubborn on this, he gets just destroyed. Then UFC can go back to him and go, listen, you're not promotable now for a couple of years. You just ruined your marketability.
Well, you called it 2 words. I'll call it 2 words. Horrible mismatch. Jeff Lacey analysed it perfectly. He was an Olympic boxer. He has gone to the Olympics as a boxer. Excuse me, mismatch written all over it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
look, Jeff Lacey's best days are behind him. Okay, we know that as a boxer. But when he said, I could pretty much beat him with my eyes closed, he's right. Because Nick Diaz isn't a boxer. Not at that level. Even if Jeff has lost a substantial amount of what he had, and I don't think he's a top 10 guy anymore.
I noticed you didn't say any of that when he was on the line.
No,
I did right before it, actually.
I said right at the beginning, unless he's completely lost it and can't take a punch anymore.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think Jeff's beaten anybody good in the division. But this is an MMA guy. And Jeff seemed to be realistic about it. He said, hey, I can't go into their sport and go and win. And that's the right attitude.
Look, all these guys are in combat sports. They're all professional sportsmen. They're all highly competitive. And what we don't want to do is turn sport into a circus.
Yep.
And I think that's what it does. I remember being on MMA Live, as you mentioned earlier, in Boston, and they were talking about one of the basketball players. I can't remember who it was now. Who's the basketball player that does jiu-jitsu?
Glenn Davis from the Celtics.
Yeah.
They were talking about one of the basketball players coming in and doing a few MMA fights.
Well, you know what? I think a guy like that could fight at a low level. Here's the difference.
No, but
Nick Diaz is not going to fight a Tom Zibikowski, even though they're different weights. Like, he's not going against another guy who's 3-0. Like, you're fighting a former world champion. I don't know. I think it's an ill-advised money grab. And here's the other thing. Here's the other part of it. They come out with statements today, and Gareth Davies is here with us from the Telegraph in the UK, and it's Stephen Day. We're talking about a story that came down today. You've got Jeff Lacey, who has signed a contract to fight Nick Diaz sometime in October. They readily admitted today, the Diaz camp, that they will fight if they don't get GSP. I got to tell you, our personal dealings, and we've seen Dana White, I don't know that he reacts real well to threats. Dude, you're not in the UFC. You're in Strikeforce, and you know why you're in Strikeforce? Because you're a pain in the ass. So now, this is your negotiating ploy. I want GSP or else. Okay, go ahead.
I agree with you. On principle, of course, the UFC have said that they will honour the Strikeforce contracts, and he's obviously got an open contract to compete in other events, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to do it, unless it's pie in the sky altogether. But, look, GSP against Diaz earns Diaz a lot of money.